This is He Knows Everything, bringing you that heat and far. We keeping the foot on the what? Nicks. We keeping the foot on the what? Nicks. And like the Tibetan master that I am, I'm applying what? Unlimited pressure. Because pressure does what? It bursts pipes. Let's talk about it, man. Timothy Bradley, although he's a knothead, he has a good fucking point. He's talking about Andre Ward, and he's talking about Canelo Alvarez. And he told Canelo Alvarez, I dare you to call out Andre Ward. Timothy Bradley has his moments. A knothead can have his moments sometimes. Let me say it again. A knothead can have his moments sometimes. And in this instance, the knothead had his moment. The knothead talked about a truth in boxing circles that boxing community fan bases, boxing fans alike know this to be true. He Knows Everything told you guys, Andre Ward is an unofficial error-filled fighter. He doesn't get enough credit for that. Remember, He Knows Everything is the only one that called him this title. So if you hear this title in boxing circles and you hear it all across YouTube, you know where it came from. So just remember that. Before Earl the True Spence, right after Floyd Mayweather, let me explain to you guys how the eras were. Because we have to break this shit down so that you guys can understand it in simple science. Floyd Mayweather had the Mayweather era. And then right in between the Mayweather era and the Spence era, because Richard Schaefer said we left the Mayweather era, but we ushered into the Spence era. But go and watch the Richard Schaefer interview. Because Richard Schaefer talks about Andre Ward, because they said, well, what about Andre Ward? And he said, well, the only reason why Andre Ward doesn't have an era, notice he said that. He didn't say that. He didn't laugh it off. He didn't scoff it off. He didn't say that Andre Ward did not have an era. He said the only reason why Andre Ward doesn't have an era is because Andre Ward was mired. He had a myriad of lawsuits and legalities that held him back. And we know that Andre Ward was on the shelf for a number of years. And there's truth to what Richard Schaefer is saying, because he's saying it from an emphatic standpoint. He's saying it from a powerful standpoint. He's talking about it from a more, basically what we would say, pivotal standpoint of what Andre Ward is talking about in terms of Andre Ward being an unofficial era-filled fighter. But you got to understand, that's the in-between of Floyd Mayweather and the in-between of Earl Spence. Era-filled fighters are what they are, era-filled fighters. Andre Ward is an unofficial era-filled fighter. Canelo Saul Alvarez, cinnamon dust of a horchata of Alvarez, was never an era-filled fighter. That's the delineation. That's the distinction. That's the gulf, and that's the separation. Andre Ward does everything in the boxing ring great. Cinnamon dust of a horchata of Alvarez does everything what we would say above fucking average. Above average is not going to basically get the job done versus a fighter that's great. Andre Ward is great. See, the word greats gets thrown around easily these days in boxing circles. People just throw the word around great because people don't understand boxing. Andre Ward does everything well. Andre Ward's inside game is his caveat. That's his bread and butter. If you know boxing and you're using the true boxing eye test, you know this. You want to know Andre Ward's masterful performances with his inside game? Look at the fight against Sakio Bika. A guy that was extremely awkward, a guy that was athletic, and a guy that was throwing punches in every direction. And go look at how Andre Ward's inside game and roughhousing tactics, because Floyd has that ability too. Earl the True Spence has that ability too. See, era-filled fighters always have these types of prerequisites in their boxing arsenal. Cinnamon dust of a horchata does not have that ability. He likes to fight in punches and in bunches of basically him being comfortable. He fights in spurts. Because remember, that's why they call him Mr. Clin, because his stamina is shit. That's why he had to take Clin Blue Rule. Andre Ward don't got a stamina field problem, because Andre Ward has the strength and conditioning coach of Mackie Shieldstone, a guy that has been known to work with hellified athletes and keep them in top conditioning, peak conditioning. Andre Ward has always been in peak conditioning when he fought. He didn't put bullshit in his body, and he always respected the craft of the sport. This is why he could come back out of retirement and beat the shit out of cinnamon dust of a horchata of Alvarez. So, although Timothy Knothead Bradley always has knothead fucking moments, In this instance, he gets the salute of the day because he understands a cold-hearted, he understands an unadulterated, and he understands a cutthroat true teller fashion, and which is, if Cinnamon Dust of a Horchata of Alvarez steps in the ring with the likes of an Andre SOG Ward, he will be fucking exposed. Cinnamon Dust of a Horchata is that over fucking rated that all Andre Ward need is one fucking tune-up. That's it. Because Andre Ward's obviously been removed, and in boxing, we know the cardinal rule in boxing. The longer you're away from the sport, the more ring rust you have. Andre Ward just need 112 rounds of fucking going at it and basically getting a fucking tune-up. Tune his ass up. And after that, you can put him in the ring with Cinnamon Dust of a Horchata of Alvarez. You best believe that training camp ain't gonna be no dehydrated 6 fucking weeks. You best believe there ain't gonna be no paid to fucking lose, super paid to lose. You best believe this ain't gonna be no wounded animal situation. You best believe this ain't gonna be no cherry picking situation. You best believe this ain't gonna be no situation where Cinnamon Dust of a Horchata is gonna have any fucking advantage. Boxing, judging, gifting, decisions, any of that shit. Because Andre SOG Ward, just like Floyd Money Mayweather, just like Earl the True Spence, they don't leave it to the fucking judges. They ensure they do what they gotta do. But I think I don't have respect for the most part with Deontay Wilder because he took a paid to fucking lose. And as a black fighter, a paid to lose stains your boxing legacy, man. The stainage there is unremovable. Even with Wilder knocking out Tyson Fury, which I'm going to be rooting for him to knock out Tyson Fury in the third fight, the stain is still there that he has that dent in the skull. You know what the stain is? The dent in the fucking skull. Andre Ward ain't got no dent in the fucking skull. And Andre Ward would never cop out. That's why Andre Ward left on his fucking terms. And you best believe if Andre Ward decides to take a Cinnamon Dust of a Horchata of an Alvarez fight, it ain't going to be on no Cinnamon Dust of a Horchata of an Alvarez terms. It's going to be on Andre SOG Ward's terms. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat true teller fashion. Timothy Knothead Bradley, you get the biggest salute of the damn day. Because you G-checked Cinnamon Dust of a Horchata of an Alvarez and you called his rabbit ass out. I dare you to call out Andre SOG Ward. That's right, Cinnamon Dust of a Horchata. I'm going to echo Timothy Knothead Bradley because even a knothead can have a fucking good day. I fucking dare you to call out Andre SOG Ward. We know what time it is. And we know you are petrified and you are scared of elite black fighters. Andre SOG Ward is on the top and the creme de la creme of elite black fighters that there is. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat true teller fashion. I keeps the foot on the what? On the Knicks. I keeps the foot on the what? On the Knicks. This is He Knows Everything. Check it out.
Smoke is free, but you can't smoke for free.
Go ahead, he knows.